Dust hangs low over broken earth. The plains tremble as thousands of hooves drum across cracked savanna. Wisps of cloud thin, and hard shafts of sunlight slice the baked terrain. From the Serengeti flats to the shallow valleys of the Mara, herds drift with the scent of distant rain. Nothing here stays still. This is where stealth in spots meets speed in horns, the merciless survival battle between leopard and antelope. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from and which side your heart is rooting for. Fault lines, thorny shrubs, and sun-bleached grass create a chessboard of cover and openings. The hunt here is strategy, not sprint. Angles, timing, and the quiet geometry of ambush. Every chase writes a record in dust. Every carcass seeds tomorrow's grass as beetles, and bacteria get to work. The plains pulse, reset, repeat. In the heat-hazed savanna, a living wall advances, the Cape buffalo, a horned phalanx that makes even lions recalculate. In a story of leopards and antelope, these tanks are the twist that changes the ending. Meet the Cape buffalo of sub-Saharan Africa, Synchorous Kaffir, roaming grasslands, floodplains, and open woodlands wherever water and rugged grass can be found. What sets them apart at a glance? That heavy, helmet-like boss where the horns meet, a built-in battering ram crowned with sweeping curves. One look into those dark, steady eyes, and the message is simple. Do not test this line. Built like a bulldozer in leather, a mature buffalo can tip the scales near a ton and stand over 5 feet at the shoulder. Their coat runs dark chocolate to charcoal, painted by dust and mud, that doubles as sunscreen and parasite relief. The skull is reinforced, sculpted by evolution to absorb shock. Horns arc sideways and upward, forming a war crest that turns a headshake into a sledgehammer. Thick hide and heavy muscle act like natural armor, and a deep chest powers lungfuls of air for sudden sprints that defy their bulk. Over 40 kilometers per hour when the switch flips from calm to chaos. Wide-set nostrils taste the wind. Swiveling ears collect whispers in tall grass. Low-slung, sturdy hooves spread weight over mud, letting the herd wade where lighter animals flounder. Nothing about this frame is decorative. It's survival stitched to every fiber. Buffalo are grass specialists, mowing coarse stems most antelope ignore and turning tough pasture into fuel. They're crepuscular by preference, grazing in the cooler edges of day and seeking shade or shallow water at noon. In the dry season, they become relentless travelers, pushing miles between shrinking pools and brittle fields, dust billowing behind like a weather front. Calm is their default, until it isn't. A leopard may ghost after antelope and write his story in stealth. A buffalo writes in capital letters, threaten a calf or isolate a weak adult, and the herd pivots, horns out, forming a living shield that can surge into a coordinated counterattack. Their nickname, the Black Death, isn't bravado. It's the memory of charges that start like a rumor and end like an earthquake. At night, they stage around water holes, ears ticking to the hyena's laugh and the leopard's cough, each wary step proof that vigilance is as important as muscle. Unity is the buffalo's superpower. Herds can swell from a few dozen to hundreds, a moving city where every eye adds to the alarm system. Cows keep calves in the center, and mothers form a rotating ring of bodyguards. Dominant bulls take the risky edges, the first to read trouble and the first to answer it. Rival males settle rank with thunder, horns crack together, hooves carve crescents, and dust climbs skyward as willpower is measured in inches gained. Losers don't vanish. They often drift into bachelor groups, unpredictable satellite crews shadowing the big herds. After an 11-month wait, a calf of 30 to 40 kilograms drops into the world. Within minutes, it trembles up on new legs while the mother licks and murmurs, imprinting scent and bond. Babysitting happens, but so do tough lessons. Keep up, stay inside the wall, learn the silent cues that make hundreds move as one. Communication is low bellows, snorts, and a choreography of heads and shoulders, an invisible signal that can turn a circle into a storm. Buffalo are landscapers on hooves. Their bulk grazing trims rough grasses, sparks tender regrowth, and shapes a mosaic other herbivores follow. Trails they carve to water become highways for warthogs, antelope, even predators. Churned wallows collect rain and seed. They carry ticks for oxpeckers to harvest, a prickly partnership that keeps both parties alert. And they anchor the menu of Africa's big predators, lions most of all, feeding the very forces that keep the system balanced. Officially least concern, they still face snares, disease, and habitat squeeze, proving that even a fortress needs safe ground. In a landscape where leopard and antelope duel in silence and speed, the Cape buffalo stands as a reminder that some battles are won together. It embodies the spirit of unity, quiet until the moment it must roar. In a brown-green river that looks calm enough to drink, a pair of eyes and two pinhole nostrils break the surface like punctuation. The sentence they finish is never kind. When the migration surges toward a crossing, the water itself turns carnivore. Meet the Nile crocodile of East Africa's migration corridor, especially along the Grumeti River in the Serengeti's western reaches, and similar muddy, slow-bending channels. This is the river's oldest specialist, an ambush predator built like a living trap. Its claim to fame? A bite that can clamp with staggering force and a patience that borders on supernatural. Sculpted by deep time, a mature Nile crocodile can stretch close to 20 feet and top 2,000 pounds. A submarine with teeth. Its armor is a mosaic of bony plates called osteoderms, each scale ridged and dark, painted by nature in olive and soot that disappears into silt. The skull is a fortress, long, low, and bristling with conical teeth that interlock like a bear trap. Eyes, ears, and nostrils sit high on the head, a periscope suite that lets the body remain submerged and invisible. Along the jawline, tiny sensory pits, pressure detectors, read ripples the way a pianist reads notes, turning a river's tremor into a hunting map. The tail is a muscled oar, thick as a tree trunk, that can unload explosive speed in short bursts. A throat valve seals the airway when the mouth is open underwater, and a slow-burning reptilian metabolism lets it ration energy for weeks. Even temperature regulation is weaponized. Bask to charge, slip into cool depths to conserve. When the river holds steady warmth after the rains, the crocodile saves precious calories for the moment that matters. Impact. Life here is a rhythm of stillness and violence. Crocodiles are ambush artists, choosing narrow crossings and undercut banks where hooves must stumble. They slide beneath the surface, only that ridged snout and lidless stare showing, waiting for a wildebeest or zebra to commit. When the crossing erupts, a big male launches with a sideways snap. The water detonates and 60 million years of design locks shut. Bite forces measured for large crocodilians reach into the thousands of pounds per square inch, and the death roll is the brutal follow-up, a full-body corkscrew that rips and drowns at once. Between feasts, the crocodile is an accountant of calories. It can fast for months, surviving drought on stored fat, warming at dawn on sandbars, and cooling at noon in shadowed pools. Night brings patrols along reed margins. Day brings basking and ambush resets. It stashes leftovers under submerged snags, a macabre pantry in a pantry the river conveniently replenishes during migration season. Crocodiles aren't social in the friendship sense, but they do gather where the hunting is good. There's a quiet hierarchy on sandbars and at carcasses. Size matters, and the largest males take prime positions. Dominant males hold stretches of river as territories during breeding season, patrolling with chin-high swagger. Courtship is more tender than you'd expect from a dinosaur. Soft rumbles, jaw taps, bubble blowing, and body rubs in the shallows. Females bury clutches of 30 to 60 eggs in warm banks, letting sun and soil incubate them. When hatchlings squeak from inside their eggs, the mother excavates, sometimes carrying babies, gently in that same mouth that crushes antelope. She'll hover near the nursery pool, discouraging fish and storks, while the young practice being miniature dragons. It's still a dangerous childhood. Siblings, catfish, and bigger crocs are all threats, but maternal watchfulness gives them a fighting chance in a river that edits the unwary. As apex predators of the river's edge, Nile crocodiles prune the ranks of the weak, the injured, and the unlucky among herbivores. Their kills and their leftovers feed a downstream economy of catfish, terrapins, marabou storks, and hyenas that scour the banks. Storm-churned carcasses fertilize backwaters, pulsing nutrients into fish nurseries. Ancient adaptations keep them on top. Energy-efficient metabolisms, sensory pits that feel footsteps, heart rates that drop during long dives, and skin that doubles as armor and solar panel. Regionally, they remain widespread, but conflicts with people, entanglement in nets, and nest raiding remind us that even old kings can be cornered. In the merciless ledger of a migration crossing, the Nile crocodile is the river's signature. Patient, precise, and unapologetically wild. It stands as a symbol of nature's hardest rule. Survival favors those who master their moment. On an African forest floor, the ground begins to move. A living river of driver ants, millions marching as one mind, hunting with pheromones and precision. No roar, no claws, just numbers and relentless coordination that erase anything too slow to escape. The continent's smallest, most lethal pack taking down its prey in perfect formation. Meet the ants of Africa's grasslands, woodlands, and wetlands, close cousins to tropical legions worldwide. Glossy, mud brown, or leaf green, they're built not as individuals, but as living parts of a machine that can bridge rivers, stitch leaves, and swallow prey like a moving shadow. Ants wear armor you can't dent with teeth, a chitin exoskeleton that seals in moisture and shrugs off thorns. Their bodies are modular, head, thorax, abdomen, connected by a narrow waist that gives agility in tight tunnels. Antennae curve forward like twin question marks, tasting air for chemical sentences only ants can read. The mandibles are the headline, hooked shears in soldiers, fine forceps in nurses, and all-purpose multi-tools in workers. Species paint their specializations on the body. African driver ants, Dorylis, field soldiers with bowling ball heads and mandibles that click like metal. Weaver ants, Oecophila longinota, glow greenish and sling larval silk to stitch tree leaves into aerial fortresses. Some sting, venom tipped for persuasion, while others spray acid with sniper accuracy. Even their feet are engineering. Sticky pads and claws for bark, spiky grip for soil. Strength is the quiet miracle. A worker can haul loads many times her weight, a forklift with a heartbeat. And scale is part of the strategy. 1 ant is a dot, 1,000 are geometry, 100,000 are destiny. Ant days are choreography written in scent. A forager finds food, lays a pheromone ribbon, and the colony turns that line into a highway. On the move, driver ants form rolling columns, a dark river that edits the forest floor. Anything small and slow becomes protein. No campsite? No problem. Army ants in Africa and the Americas make bivouacs from their own bodies, clipping together into a living wall that breathes and protects queens and brood. Fire ants, when floodwater rises, show zero panic. Workers link limbs and jaws into a floating raft where every life counts, a bobbing city that can survive for days. In the Amazon, bullet ants carry a different kind of thunder, a sting that burns like a bullet wound for 24 hours. Among the Satare Mawe, young men wear gloves filled with them to prove courage. Meanwhile, leafcutter ants, New World masters, march green flags underground, not to eat leaves, but to farm a fungus feast. On African branches, weaver ants zipline leaves together with larval silk, patrolling the canopy like tiny rangers. Even predators notice. When Africa's most lethal pack, wild dogs, fans through grass, ants keep working under the storm of paws. The hunt roars overhead. The ground empire keeps its schedule. An ant colony is a superorganism with a queen at its core, thousands to millions of workers as organs, and soldiers as muscle. Jobs are age and body type specific. Nurses tend brood in the cool dark. Foragers gamble the open. Soldiers guard choke points and bite first, ask later. Orders arrive as chemistry, pheromones that say, food here, danger there, or build now. Many species practice battlefield medicine. Africa's Matabele ants rescue wounded termite hunters, carrying them home. Nestmates clean and treat injuries with antimicrobial secretions, slashing death rates and preserving hard-earned experience. Cooperation scales up to architecture. Weaver ants form living chains to pull leaves together, then sew them shut with larval silk. Army ants become the walls of their own nursery. Fire ants become rafts. And when it's time to expand the empire, winged princes and princesses rise on warm evenings, pairing in the dusk. The new queens land, shed wings, and become the beating heart of a fresh city. Ants are the hidden logistics of the wild. They aerate soil with tunnels, circulate nutrients, and clean carcasses to the bone, curbing disease. They farm. Leafcutters cultivate fungus. Many species herd sap-sucking insects for sugary honeydew. Weaver ants act as natural pest control in orchards. Seeds hitch rides on nutrient-rich snacks. Ants carry home, sprouting in fertilized chambers, a quiet reforestation service. Threats are modern: pesticides, habitat loss, invasive rivals. Yet their blueprint, flexibility, redundancy, relentless teamwork, makes colonies astonishingly resilient when we leave space for them. In a world that celebrates claws and speed, ants remind us that discipline and unity can turn whispers into power. They are symbols of patient strength, proof that the smallest footsteps can move a continent. Short grass, dry wind, and a shadow that breathes. A leopard flattens to the earth while a ring of Thompson's gazelles grazes. This is the quiet knife edge where mercy doesn't live. Meet the African leopard of the Serengeti Masai Mara Plains, a ghost stitched in rosettes. It moves under low shrubs, body pressed to the ground, turning gaps in vegetation into doorways to opportunity. Painted by nature in dark rosettes over tawny gold, the leopard is camouflage made muscle. Those spots don't just look beautiful. They break up the body's outline so perfectly that even alert gazelles read it as flicker and shadow. The build is compact and coiled, heavy forequarters for tackling, a long, thick tail acting like a tightrope walker's pole to balance sudden turns, and paws padded like velvet hammers for silent steps. Retractable claws stay razor clean for the only seconds that matter. A flexible spine and powerful shoulders let the cat explode from stillness into a short, straight sprint. Forward-facing amber eyes pull detail out of dusk. Ears swivel to triangulate the faintest hoof scrape. Whiskers feel the world's edges. Twigs, wire grass, the lip of a shallow rise. So the cat never announces itself. Everything about this body is sculpted for stealth first, acceleration second, and endurance never. On the open plain, a leopard plays chess without a partner. Wind shifts, grass leans in new directions, the herd adjusts. The cat ghost walks in a controlled rhythm, never rushing, never showing its hand early. It uses the landscape's smallest gifts, a low mound, a shallow shadow, a bush the size of a suitcase, to erase itself. Ahead, Thompson's gazelles feed in a careful scatter, youngsters strung along the outer ring. The cat closes the gap, then freezes beside a knuckle of earth. The field seems to hold its breath. There will be no wild zigzags, no long chase across the flats. This athlete is built for a few surgical seconds. If the gazelle bolts too early or cuts hard off the line, the hunt collapses. Failure is common, not from lack of skill, but because variables keep changing: wind, sun angle, grass height, prey spacing. Often the leopard strikes late afternoon, when heat softens and shadows stretch. If it wins, the kill is small, fast, and consumed quickly, sometimes dragged to cover, sometimes finished on the spot before hyenas get the memo. Leopards are solo operators. No flankers, no backup, no group confusion tactics. A female holds a territory that overlaps with a dominant male's range. Scent marks and a rasping cough carry their introductions. Cubs learn by imitation. Mother shows the art of reading wind, of turning a shrub into a shield, of waiting longer than nerves prefer. She delivers tough love in lessons measured in inches. Males do not assist with parenting. Their contribution is genetic and territorial defense by presence. Around other predators, a leopard picks its battles with humility. Lions overpower, hyenas mob, so this cat opts for vanishing acts, small meals, minimal scent, no invitations to scavenger parties. On the plains, subtlety is survival. No bravado, no noisy claims, just precise entries and cleaner exits. Even when a leopard doesn't kill, its shadow changes the map. Gazelle herds tighten, then shift. Feeding pauses, crossings over low visibility ground speed up. That pressure, light but persistent, spreads herbivores across the grasslands, preventing any one patch from being chewed to exhaustion. By selecting weaker or isolated individuals, the leopard trims disease and keeps populations tuned to the land's carrying capacity. Small, quickly consumed kills leave little for scavengers, avoiding disruptive pileups and keeping the predator hierarchy stable. Threats to the leopard are human more than animal: snares, habitat squeeze, and conflict. Yet where corridors remain and protection holds, this quiet regulator keeps the system balanced. In the brittle light of the plains, the leopard is patience sharpened into a blade. It embodies the spirit of precise survival, proof that in the wild, victory often belongs to the animal that moves least until it matters most. Wind skims the Serengeti, and the grass writes in zigzags. Dust lifts, then settles, as if the ground itself is breathing. In the open, where there's nowhere to hide, the Thomson's gazelle survives by turning the plain into a maze you can't see, until it's too late. Speed is their headline, but misdirection is the plot twist. Meet the Thomson's gazelle of East Africa's rolling grasslands, from the Serengeti to the Masai Mara. Small, sleek, and wired like a spring, Tommies blend elegance with a track star's reflexes. A crisp black side stripe and bold facial chevrons make them unmistakable, as does a sudden showy leap called stotting, a fitness flex they use when danger whispers. Painted by nature in sandy caramel with a bright white belly and a clean black band, the Thomson's gazelle looks like a brushstroke of speed. Males carry taller, lyre-shaped, strongly ringed horns. Females usually have shorter, finer versions, sometimes none at all. Large, liquid eyes sit high on the skull, giving a wide-angle view of trouble. Ears swivel like satellite dishes, screening the savanna's constant static. The body is compact, about knee-high to a lion, and sculpted for efficiency. Ultralight frame, long, fine legs with elastic tendons that store and release energy like pogo springs, and a deep chest powering a fast heart and oxygen-hungry lungs. Hooves are narrow and hard-edged, perfect for gripping baked soil and pivoting on a dime. A black-tipped tail flicks like a metronome, part fly swat, part social signal. The signature move, those high arcing stots, is more than drama. Tendons do the heavy lifting, allowing big air with minimal energy. And when the chase starts, a Tommy can break past 50 miles per hour, then tear into elastic curves that deny a predator a straight line, keeping the hunter's focus sliding off target. Life here is sprint planning. In open grass with no cover to melt into, survival means mastering the turn. Tommies run in angled bursts, bending their paths into irregular curves that shred a stalker's timing. Even as a herd, they keep gap control, each individual holding an instinctive personal space. A threat at distance? They launch into stots, then slalom into a tangle of motion that looks chaotic but keeps the group hard to parse. Feeding is precise and close-cropped. They graze right at the base of grasses, nibbling fresh shoots and small forbs that heavier grazers trample or ignore. In the mid-dry season, after wildebeest and zebras roll on, Tommies often make up much of the remaining biomass, residents who keep the lights on when the big crowds leave town. Mornings and late afternoons are prime. Midday brings shade and rumination. Water is welcome, but not mandatory. Moisture locked in green bites can be enough between drinks. Birth is a masterclass in disappearance. Females drop fawns in dispersed low-grass spots, never concentrating, never lingering. Newborns lie flat, scent light and motionless, while mothers graze within range, returning to nurse at intervals. When those tiny legs can carry a sprint, mother and calf ghost back into the moving mosaic. Thompson's gazelles live in flexible society. Female herds drift across male territories. Bachelor groups spar and jostle. Territorial males run border patrols. Males mark with dung middens and scent, adopting an arched neck gooseneck display to say, "This patch is taken." Fights are quick, horn-to-horn fencing with sidesteps and shoves more than full-on brawls. The kind of contest where winning means rights to mate, not scars for bragging. Communication is subtle, snorts, foot stamps, tail signals, and, of course, stotting. When a cheetah ghosts into view, the herd stretches and contracts like it's tied to invisible elastic. Centrifugal force breaks the formation during the hazard, then pulls it back together once the air calms. Calves form informal nurseries once they're mobile, babysat by the rhythm of the group. Everyone reads the horizon, everybody moves. Tommies are the cushion between apex predators and the tiniest scavengers, a stabilizing middle layer. They feed low, keeping grasses clipped and stimulating fresh, green regrowth. Hoofprints stitch shallow grooves that trap brief rain and dew. In those micro-basins, new shoots germinate. Their grazing routes attract ground birds and insects, setting off a chain of small opportunities. When gazelles vanish, the mid-tier collapses. Predators lurch upward or downward, fracturing the natural order. They are near-threatened in many assessments, pressured by fencing, overgrazing, and poaching, but inside protected corridors, their rhythm holds. In a landscape where mercy is rare and movement is everything, the Thompson's gazelle is the seam that keeps two worlds from tearing. It embodies the spirit of survival by never standing still, proof that in the wild's hardest math, the curve can beat the straight line. The grass holds its breath. Somewhere beyond the mirage, a roar rolls like distant thunder. 8 kilometers of bravado that rattles ribs and rearranges courage. The lion is here, and the savannah suddenly remembers its rules. In this arena, mercy is rare, and survival is paid for in muscle, patience, and scars. Meet the African lion, ruler of the open plains and thorny woodlands from sun-baked savannas to riverine edges. It's the only truly social big cat, powerful alone, unstoppable together. A male can weigh up to 250 kilograms, his mane a storm of gold and black, while lionesses move like shadows stitched to the wind. The crown isn't a trinket, it's a role earned daily. Painted in tawny hues that match dry grass and dusty light, lions are sculpted by evolution for ambush and impact. Males carry a mane that ranges from sunlight straw to coal dark, a living banner that makes them look larger, absorbs blows in fights, and signals maturity and health to allies and rivals. Beneath that showmanship sits a chassis built for sudden violence. Heavy shoulders, thick neck, and forelimbs like pistons. Retractable claws stay razor sharp until the last second, and each paw is wrapped in sound-dampening pads, the stealth sneakers of the savannah. Open the mouth and the story continues. Canines like ivory daggers, a bite designed to clamp windpipes and end the chase quickly. Their flexible spine and powerful hips deliver short, brutal sprints, not cheetah fast, but fast enough to close the final meters that matter. A reflective layer in the eye supercharges night vision. Whiskers map the world like tactile radar, and that black tufted tail becomes a flag for silent signals during hunts. Even their voice is an adaptation, a specialized larynx and partly unossified hyoid structure forge a roar that carries across territories, a sonic fence line drawn in the dark. Daytime is mostly a truce with the heat. Lions lounge, doze, and recharge, saving energy for the hours that count. Dusk calls them to work. Lionesses fan out low through the grass, reading the wind, using termite mounds and bushes like moving cover. When zebras drift into range, the plan snaps into place. One lioness flanks, another blocks. A third bursts with timing so sharp it looks rehearsed. Hooves hammer, dust blossoms, and the world narrows to seconds. When it works, the savannah sings with roars, a victory old as Africa itself. But the wild keeps score. Buffalo hunts are courage exams with horns attached. The plan can be flawless: decoy, pincer, push, and still the herd turns, a black tide of muscle and rage. One bad step and a young male is tossed, trampled, blown out of a dream of dominance. The pride pulls back, licking dust, learning caution. Hunger is a strict tutor. When prey disappears and nights stretch long, cubs mule under acacias, and lionesses gamble everything on one more stalk. Meanwhile, males patrol boundaries at dawn, scent marking, listening. Their roars boom across the plain. We are here. This land is taken. Think twice. A pride is family with sharp edges, usually related females, their cubs, and a coalition of 1 to 4 males holding the franchise. Lionesses are the engine. They hunt, they coordinate, and they often nurse one another's cubs, a communal insurance plan against drought and bad luck. Males are the fortress gate, using size, mane, and attitude to repel rival coalitions and marauding hyenas. Takeovers are dramatic and dangerous. New rulers may commit infanticide to bring females back into heat, a harsh reset written into lion biology. Cubs are schooled by play, pounces that will one day be hunts, mock fights that teach balance and bite control. Grooming knits the pride, a quiet language of tongues and trust. Hierarchies exist, but flex with age and experience. A seasoned matriarch's glance can rearrange a hunt line. When food is scarce, discipline prevails. First the mothers, then the cubs. Males eat when security allows. Unity is the superpower. Alone, a lion is a threat. Together, they become an inevitability. Lions keep the system honest. By targeting the unwary, the weak, and the old, they shape herds, strengthen gene pools, and prevent overgrazing. Their kills feed a small economy. Vultures, jackals, and even beetles cash in on leftovers. Competition with hyenas and leopards builds a constant chess match that spreads pressure across the landscape. Listed as vulnerable, lions now face shrinking habitat and conflict with people. Yet their adaptability, shifting diets, flexible territories, night work during heat waves, keeps them in the fight. The roar is an ecological announcement. The balance still holds. The lion is both crown and cost, symbol of strength and proof that every throne is defended daily. In the merciless survival battle, it reminds us that power is earned, shared, and sometimes lost, but never taken for granted under an African sky. In monsoon damp forests and mangrove shadows, a striped ghost glides without a sound. The Bengal tiger lives by a simple contract: eat or vanish. Beauty wears claws here, and mercy is not part of the landscape. One mistake can mean 3 days of hunger. Meet the Bengal tiger of the Indian subcontinent, India, Nepal's Terai, Bhutan's foothills, and Bangladesh's Sundarbans. This is the largest cat on Earth's warm plains, a predator sculpted for ambush in thick sal forests and reed-choked swamps. Its flame-orange coat and black bars aren't just stunning. They are a disappearing act the jungle reads and then forgets. Up to 3 meters from nose to tail and commonly 180 to 260 kilograms for males, the Bengal tiger is a compact avalanche of muscle. The coat is a painter's riot, amber to rust, crossed with dark, vertical stripes that are uniquely patterned like fingerprints. Along the belly, inner limbs, and cheeks, white fur softens the palate. It's not vanity, it's contrast that breaks the outline in dappled light. Broad forelimbs and a deep chest power. Short, explosive sprints. Paws as big as dinner plates spread weight over soft mud, while padded soles and retractable claws make its approach whisper, quiet. The skull is a brute beauty, thick jaw hinges, saber-like canines, and a bite engineered to crush windpipes and snap vertebrae. Eyes carry a mirror-like tapetum lucidum for night vision. Ears swivel to triangulate a rustle from meters away. Whiskers map the world in darkness, reading branches and the slightest shift of air. Even the tail is a tool, counterbalance in a mid-sprint pivot. Every line and curve serves one goal: get close, stay unseen, end it quickly. This cat hunts the way a chess master plays: slow setup, fast finish. It prefers deer like chital and sambar, but will take boar, gore calves, and in the mangroves, even fish and crabs between tides. It works the wind, hugging cover along game trails, drainage lines, and riverbanks. When the angle is perfect, it erupts 50 to 60 kilometers per hour for a handful of heartbeats, closing the last 20 to 30 meters in a blur. A forepaw swipe unbalances. The killing bite clamps the throat or the nape. Success isn't common, often won in several attempts, so energy is currency. It picks targets with a thief's caution: the distracted, the young, the injured. After a kill, it drags the prize into cover, feeds and returns for days if the neighborhood allows. Most activity clusters around dusk, night, and dawn. The heat of midday is for shade, water, and scratch-marked waypoints. Scent is its social media, sprayed on trees, rubbed on trunks, laid down in scrapes, messages that say occupied without a meeting. Roars carry far. Friendly greetings are chuffs, a soft, airy sound you'd never expect from a giant with daggers for teeth. Tigers are solitary rulers of overlapping maps. A male's range may cover 50 to 150 square kilometers, depending on prey. It often overlaps several females, but not other adult males if he can help it. They time-share land using scent and schedules, a civil arrangement that prevents constant war. When lines blur, tension rises. Most disputes end with roaring, posturing, and parallel walks. But if neither backs down, combat is brutal. Hooking forelimbs, slashing claws, jaws angling for the throat. Mating is brief, loud, and timed to a few days of estrus. Around 100 to 110 days later, 2 to 4 cubs stumble into the world, eyes sealed, all hope and hunger. The tigress becomes a ghost with a mission, moving dens to avoid discovery, nursing for months, and teaching with staged hunts, first insects, then rabbits, then deer. Cubs stay up to 2 years. Not all make it. Male infanticide is a risk, so is starvation and inexperience. Motherhood here is fierce tenderness, calories converted into survival lessons. As apex predator, the Bengal tiger keeps herbivore numbers in check, preventing overgrazing and allowing forests to regenerate. It culls the weak and the sick, shaping prey genetics and behavior. Its leftovers feed a guild of opportunists. Jackals, vultures, monitor lizards, turning one kill into many meals. The tiger is an umbrella species. Protect its corridors, and you shelter a whole ecosystem beneath. Globally, tigers are endangered. Bengal populations have risen in parts of India thanks to reserves and community protection, but threats persist: poaching, shrinking habitat, and conflict at the edges where cattle replace deer. The Bengal tiger is not just power, it's restraint, calculation, and those 3 quiet weapons: patience, space, and precision. In a world that never bargains, it embodies the spirit of survival written in stripes and silence. In rain-sweet grass, hooves drum like distant thunder. The wildebeest are moving. Calves still slick from birth wobble, then join the living river before their legs have learned the script. This is the Serengeti Masai Mara's merciless survival battle, and the wildebeest are both the spark and the fuel. Where they go, life follows, hungry, hopeful, relentless. Meet the blue wildebeest, the bearded gnu of East Africa's Great Plains. In the southern Serengeti, they calve on damp earth, then roll northward toward the Masai Mara in a slow, unstoppable current. Look for the dark, ox-like head, the black beard and tail, the mohawk mane that spikes when the wind talks. Their silhouette, heavy shoulders sloping to lean hips, looks built for one thing: forward. Painted by nature in gunmetal gray, the wildebeest wears vertical shadow stripes along the rib cage, like rain still running down a wall. Bulls can top 250 kilos. Cows are lighter but no less determined. Both sexes carry horns that sweep outward, then curl in, a low-slung crescent for parrying in the rut or fending off a too bold neighbor. Evolution gave them long, springy legs and hard, crescent hooves, perfect for carving faint trails into soaked plains and pounding dry soil into dust. Their big muzzle is a grass engine, wide lips and a tough tongue clipping stems close. A complex stomach turns rough blades into miles. Ears swivel like radar. Eyes ride high and wide for 360-degree threat detection, because in this open theater there's no curtain, only distance and nerves. Daylight finds them grazing in cool hours, heads down in noisy harmony, snip, step, snort, then resting as heat hardens the horizon. When storms roll in and the first grasses blush green, the map redraws itself in their heads. They don't follow a leader. They follow a language of scent, thunder, and the memory of rain. Calves are born when the ground is still moist, a synchronized flood of life that overwhelms predators by sheer math. Minutes old, a newborn stumbles, locks eyes with its mother, drinks, and moves, because stopping is a luxury the wild rarely offers. Along the migration corridor, dung falls in a steady breadcrumb line. Dung beetles arrive like tiny engineers. Cattle egrets skim low, catching insects kicked up by 1,000 hooves. At the edges, hyenas lope, lions flatten, and crocodiles wait where the grass becomes river. The pace is measured, the stakes are not. Weaker animals drift to the rear. The rear is where the night has teeth. Wildebeest live in a flexible fission-fusion society. Herds form, split, and merge like weather. Cows with calves cluster, trading vigilance and comfort. Bulls switch between bachelor groups and brief, noisy dominion during the rut. For a few fevered weeks, males claim patches of prime grass, bellowing like drums with horns, scent marking, posturing sideways, and sometimes locking horns in head-wrenching shoves. Calves recognize mothers by smell and voice. One wrong turn can be fatal, so they learn the family ringtone fast. Communication is constant. Grunts, snorts, a rolling chorus that says move, danger, or keep up. No matriarch directs traffic. Decisions emerge from thousands of tiny cues. It's democracy by hoofprint. They are the pulse of the plains. As they pass, tall grasses are mowed, old roots torn, soil loosened. Dung, urine, and fallen hair seed the ground with nutrients and microbes. Moisture clings to organic matter, and shortly after the herd moves on, green shoots erupt like a standing ovation. Gazelles and zebras follow the opened buffet. Scavengers, vultures, jackals, even crows key into carcass hotspots, while predators time births and ambushes to the herd's schedule. Every wildebeest that lives feeds the system. Every wildebeest that dies feeds it faster. They're listed as least concern, but fences, snares, drought, and disease can snap this living machine. Where corridors stay open, the engine runs. In a world that does not forgive hesitation, the wildebeest endures by moving. It is a symbol of stubborn momentum, a reminder that survival here is a marathon with teeth along the route, and the courage is in taking the next step. The river looks calm until the rock exhales. 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, and a warning. This water belongs to someone. When a hippo rises, peace gets teeth. In the merciless game of survival, this is the bouncer no one wants to argue with. Meet the common hippopotamus, Hippopotamus amphibius, lord of Africa's slow rivers, swamps, and lagoons. It doesn't swim like a fish. This giant walks the riverbed, a living tank powered by legs as thick as pillars. By day, it vanishes under the surface. By night, it rules the grasslands like a silent convoy of moving hills. Painted in slate gray to chocolate brown, the hippo is sculpted by evolution into pure utility. Barrel chest, short piston legs, and skin so thin and sun-sensitive, it must stay wet. Nature added a clever defense, an orange-red blood sweat, a secretion that acts like sunscreen and an antibacterial shield, a kind of built-in lotion that says, "Yes, I read the label." Eyes, ears, and nostrils sit high on the skull, a periscope suite that lets the animal see, hear, and breathe while almost entirely submerged. Nostrils clamp tight, ears seal, and dense bones act like ballast so it can sink at will and stride the bottom. That incredible jaw gapes nearly 150 degrees, revealing canines that can stretch half a meter, chisels for combat, not salad forks. Despite the sofa on legs look, a hippo can sprint over 30 kilometers per hour on land. Every inch is designed for amphibious life. Thick hide resists thorns, hooves spread for traction in mud, and a reflex sends the body up to breathe every 3 to 5 minutes, even while sleeping. Daylight is for water. Hippos rest in pods, soaking heat away, surfacing to snort and yawn. A display that doubles as a billboard. I'm armed. They aren't lazy. They're strategic, saving energy for the night shift. After dusk, a procession files onto the floodplain, following the same carved hippo highways for kilometers. In a few hours, each adult grazes up to 40 kilograms of grass, trimming lawns like stoic groundskeepers. They rarely eat aquatic plants. The river is for safety. The meadow is the pantry. Communication is a chorus of wheeze honks and underwater rumbles that carry through water like drum beats. A signature move? Dung spraying with a whisking tail, an olfactory newsletter pinned to the riverbank. When water shrinks in the dry season, tempers rise. Pools shrink to brown mirrors, and the distance between rivals becomes uncomfortably social. Crocodiles test the margins. Lions lurk where paths meet dust. A mother doesn't negotiate. She'll pivot from calm to collision, charging with half a ton of urgency to send crocodiles sliding and lions reconsidering their menu. A hippo's world is drawn in water. Groups call them pods, schools, or bloats, usually number 10 to 30, clustered under the rule of a dominant bull. Territory exists mostly in the river. On land, grazing routes overlap like politely ignored property lines. The boss enforces order with yawns, charges, tails splashing, and those photogenic tusk displays. When two bulls test the crown, the river seems to boil. Jaws smash, teeth rake, and waves slap the bank. Scars keep the score. Females and their calves form the heart of the group, often resting close in calmer shallows. Mating happens in water. Control is safer there. A pregnant female slips away to quiet reeds to give birth after around 8 months. The calf, 30 to 50 kilos of brand new buoyancy, can surface instinctively and even nurse underwater, tucking against its mother like a living life jacket. She'll shield it with the precision of a tank and the softness of a nursery. Hippos are heavyweight engineers. Their nightly grazing shapes hippo lawns, keeping grasses short so fresh shoots feed antelope that follow. Their trails cut channels that redirect water, and their dung ferries nutrients from land to river, fuel for fish and invertebrates. In crowded pools, that same nutrient pulse can tip into algal blooms, a tough reminder that every gift has an edge. They anchor food webs as competitors and occasional casualties, but adult hippos have few natural predators. The real threats are human: habitat loss, drought, and poaching for meat and ivory-like teeth. Protected areas and wildlife corridors keep many populations stable, but the pressure is rising. Officially, they're vulnerable in parts of their range, and always one bad, dry season away from trouble. In a world that forgives nothing, the hippo is a living boundary: power, presence, and consequence. It embodies the spirit of survival by drawing a line in the water and holding it, breath after breath, night after night. In the furnace light of Australia's interior, a red kangaroo rises, then flies. Each leap a decision between thirst and teeth. The ground is cracked, the wind tastes like salt and dust, and speed is the only prayer that gets answered. When danger closes, he plants on his tail and launches a kick that can end arguments, and hunts in a heartbeat. Meet the red kangaroo, the largest marsupial on Earth, patrolling the arid plains and savannas of Australia's outback. Males glow ember red. Females wear cooler blue-gray tones that slip into the grassland light. They are athletes of open space, rulers of distance, and proof that survival can be both elegant and unforgiving. Built by heat and horizon, a big male can top 2 meters standing tall and weigh close to 90 kilograms, a chest like granite and forearms knotted with muscle. Males wear the classic rusty coat that blazes under the sun. Females and subadults are softer gray, a family portrait painted by camouflage. The hind legs are long, spring-loaded pistons with thick tendons that store and release energy like coiled steel, letting them cover up to 9 meters in a single bound and touch 70 kilometers per hour when the desert asks hard questions. Broad feet act as shock absorbers and launch pads. The tail is a thick, muscular counterweight, a rudder in flight and a third leg in combat. Sharp foreclaws are tools and weapons, good for digging cool scrapes in the soil, teasing out roots, and when negotiations fail, raking a rival's chest. Big ears swivel like radar dishes, reading wind and footfall. The muzzle is fine-tuned to dry grasses that other herbivores pass over. In blistering heat, they lick their forearms where blood vessels run close to the skin, evaporative cooling on demand, and seek shade hollows they've carved with those claws. Everything here is design with a deadline. Red kangaroos move when the sun loosens its grip. Crepuscular by preference, they feed at dawn and dusk, then travel at night across parched flats toward patches of green. They graze on tough grasses and saltbush, trimming tips where moisture hides. When the rains fail for months, they pull water from leaves and stems, their bodies thrift managing every drop. Concentrated urine, dry pellets, slow daytime schedules. The hop isn't just speed, it's efficiency. Elastic tendons recycle energy, so distance costs less here than walking would. At a hint of trouble, mobs stretch into living ribbons, everyone synced to the same metronome of air and muscle. Dingoes are the headline threat, silent as dust, relentless as drought. A dingo singles out a juvenile, the mob fans. The dominant male pivots onto his tail and fires a forward kick, hammer blow power meant to stun or end the chase. He can box, parry, and stand his ground, but he knows the oldest rule: live to hop another day. Red kangaroos gather in loose mobs, fluid groups woven by proximity more than strict membership. Within this shifting circle, pecking orders are clear. A dominant male, bigger, scarred, supremely confident, holds mating access, while subordinates watch, wait, and test. Challenges are formal and startlingly human. Clinches, grapples, forearm feints, then the classic balance and kick, each blow anchored by that tail tripod. It's power with rules. Most fights end before blood. Females are the quiet engines of the mob. There's no fixed breeding season. Rainfall writes the calendar. After a short gestation, a newborn barely 2 centimeters long crawls unaided to the pouch, latches, and vanishes into warm darkness for months. Kangaroo mothers can perform milk magic, producing different milk for different aged young and even pause pregnancy, embryonic diapause, until conditions improve. The pouch is a nursery and a training ground. A joey peaks, tumbles, then retreats to reset confidence. As heavyweight grazers, red kangaroos clip tough grasses and stimulate fresh growth, shaping plant communities across vast rangelands. They open space for smaller herbivores, spread seeds on their roots, and feed predators. Dingoes, wedge-tailed eagles, and goannas take their share, especially of young. Their drought-hard physiology, water-sparing kidneys, energy-saving hops, shade-digging behavior turns scarcity into strategy. While widespread and listed as least concern, they navigate a modern gauntlet. Prolonged droughts, fencing and roads, legal culls, and occasional conflict with livestock. Where corridors remain and harvests are managed, the rhythm holds. The red kangaroo is the continent's heartbeat made visible. Resilience in motion, sovereignty in silence. In a land that never forgives the unprepared, it leaps a simple truth into the dust: adapt or be left behind. On the Gumeti Plains, the battle begins before the crowds arrive. A silent line of black and white stripes advances over pale soil, cutting a clean swath through new grass, while predators watch the horizon for mistakes. This is the merciless survival battle. Quiet now, but loaded with decisions that mean life or death later. Meet the plains, zebra of the Gumeti Plains, early migrants in a land still shaking off a short, dry season. While wildebeest wait for plush pastures, zebras rewrite the script, moving first, trimming the grass, and forcing the ecosystem to adjust to their rhythm. Their stripes are not just a signature, they're confusion in motion, safety stitched into skin. Painted by nature in stark contrast, each zebra's stripes are unique, a living fingerprint that breaks up their outline against waving grass and shifting shade. Broad-chested and sturdy, they carry dense muscle over a frame built for endurance, not short sprints. A stiff mohawk mane stands like a ridge down the neck. Think built-in airflow and a rain gutter in one. The muzzle is charcoal dark, tipped with lips and incisors made for clipping stems with barber-level precision. High-crowned teeth grind abrasive grasses day after day, while a spacious hindgut fermentation system powers them through coarse fiber other grazers avoid. Ears swivel like twin satellite dishes, reading wind, mood, and the low language of hoofbeats. Hard keratin hooves land with a confident, shallow stamp, steady but not scarring, ideal for long-distance travel over dry pans just beginning to green. The stripes may even muddle biting flies at close range, a flickering pattern that turns a landing zone into a moving puzzle. Everything about the zebra says, move early, eat tough, keep going. As soon as the rains pull green threads through cracked earth, zebras go. No dust cloud, no dramatic stampede. Just a broad, coordinated line flowing east and northeast, grazing only the top of the grass and leaving the base intact. They spread into loose clusters rather than a tight block, a living paintbrush that sweeps the plains evenly. At shallow water holes, the herd splits neatly into smaller units, each taking a different patch depending on terrain. Their passage leaves a crisp, grazing edge shaped by the wind, a gentle curve where shrubs lose their cover and sunlight reaches the ground. Zebras are diurnal to crepuscular, moving through cool mornings and late afternoons and easing off when heat hardens the light. They don't wait for perfect. They shave the lawn, move on, and let others follow. Predator approaches. Unlike tight herding species that bunch up, zebras scatter wide across open space, a tactic that fractures an ambush and forces hunters to choose. Stallions wheel and threaten, mares drive foals into gaps. It's chaos with a plan, and it saves lives. Zebra society is built on harems, a dominant stallion, several mares, and their foals, with bachelor groups orbiting the edges. Leadership on the move shifts fluidly. Today's front runner becomes tomorrow's flank guard, as the stallion patrols the perimeter like a bold, striped bouncer. Mares form the core, their bonds reinforced by mutual grooming, nose-to-shoulder nuzzles, and the soft calls only foals truly understand. Breeding isn't locked to a single short season here, so families can travel in smaller units without jamming the migration into one brittle block of time. At water, they fan out to avoid bottlenecks. When danger pricks the air, a volley of barks and snorts ricochets through the group. Then they split, some vanguard, some rear guard, spreading the risk rather than offering a single target. Stallions will pivot to face down hyenas, bite and kick. Mares flank their young, forming shifting corridors of safety. It's not a parade, it's practiced flexibility. Zebras are the system's early editors. By clipping only the upper grass, they leave a living base perfect for low grazers, gazelles, warthogs, and later scattered bands of wildebeest. Their shallow hoofprints and dispersed dung stitch gentle, widespread nourishment into the soil. Dung beetles arrive like night shift gardeners, rolling, burying, and aerating, while bacteria bloom, holding moisture at the roots and kickstarting new growth. Their movement opens low thickets, brightens the ground layer, and spreads pressure across time and space. Predators adjust, too, setting early ambushes along zebra routes before the wildebeest masses push through, spreading predation rather than concentrating it into brutal peaks. Think of zebras as a horizontal current, not as forceful as buffalo trampling, not as vertically heavy as wildebeest grazing to the nub, but exactly the buffer the plains need to stay resilient. In a land where mercy is rare and timing is everything, the zebra is a quiet strategist. A reminder that survival isn't only teeth and speed, it's planning, patience, and a rhythm that keeps the whole system breathing. Stripes in motion, they embody the spirit of resilience that holds the battle together without breaking the land. In the cold light of a Kamchatka dawn, the river looks calm, but it's a battlefield. Red salmon explode from the water like thrown sparks, and a brown bear stands in the current, still as a boulder with a heartbeat. This is the merciless survival battle, timing against hunger, frost against fat, patience against current. Meet the brown bear of Kamchatka, Ursus arctos, the heavyweight of the Russian Far East. Standing taller than 2 meters when reared up, this bear carries its authority in silence. Amber eyes, a shovel-wide snout, and claws like ice hooks. One look at that shoulder hump, the engine room of pure muscle, and you know this creature isn't here to negotiate. Painted by northern light, the Kamchatka brown bear wears a coat that shifts from chocolate to honeyed bronze as seasons turn. Guard hairs bead water like rain off a good coat, while a dense underfur insulates through brutal winters. The famous hump is a mound of power, sculpted for digging, swimming, and holding steady in rapids where lesser legs would skid. Plantigrade feet, flat-footed like ours, spread weight for balance. Those paws are dinner plates, each armed with non-retractable claws that can reach the length of a house key. A deep chest fuels endurance. A broad skull and crushing bite can split a salmon or worry a rib cage if a deer misjudges the mud. Under the skin, evolution keeps a ledger. Summer calories become autumn fat, a living bank account that will pay the interest of winter. Day to day, the bear is a master of options, a chef with a buffet. In salmon season, he chooses the river. He stands by a rapid, reads the water through his legs. Then, snap decision, sharp strike, the fish is airborne and ends in his grasp. Watch a seasoned male, and you'll notice a secret. He sometimes favors the fattiest parts first, the brain, the skin, the roe, because fat is warmth, fat is spring, fat is insurance. On gravel, you'll see him press a female salmon's belly, and the eggs spill like red beads. Downstream, a mother wades with cubs, teaching them the river's grammar. Angle your body, feel the push, anticipate the leap from the faintest riffle. Summer is generous beyond fish, bilberries, crowberries, roots, grubs, and the occasional honey raid. Turn muzzles purple and days into quiet feasts. But when the taiga hardens and the sun shortens, the bear locates a den, a root-tangled cave, a hollow bank, and dials life down. Hibernation isn't romance, it's math. Heart rate drops, breathing thins, and the furnace burns on slow until the world unlocks. Socially, this is a solo act with complicated duets. Adult males roam wide and mostly alone. At the salmon runs, hierarchy writes itself. The biggest boars take the prime riffles. Subadults and mothers with cubs split the quieter channels. Communication is old school, but effective. Tree rubs and claw marks are the forest's social media, scent posts saying I was here, and I'm not small. In late spring, courtship is brief and pragmatic. Delayed implantation means the female's body decides later whether resources can support cubs. In the den, tiny blind cubs arrive on a gust of midwinter warmth, and the mother becomes everything: milk, shelter, lesson plan. She'll keep them for 2 to 3 years and defend them with a ferocity that turns a cliff edge into a line you simply don't cross. Not every male backs down. Infanticide is a grim reality, but sometimes standing ground wins the day, and the scars write their own footnotes. Ecologically, the brown bear is both harvester and courier. When salmon run, bears drag carcasses into the forest, spreading marine nutrients into the soil and feeding trees that will shade future rivers. They prune deer and elk the way weather does, occasionally decisively, and scatter seeds in berry-laced scat. Their digging aerates soil. Their leftovers feed foxes, eagles, and 100 small mouths with big opinions. Threats exist: poaching, habitat pressures, and overfishing that starves the river's heartbeat. But in Kamchatka, healthy salmon runs still write bear futures. Brown bears are globally listed as least concern, but the ledger can change fast when rivers go quiet. In a land that forgives little, the brown bear is a reminder that patience is power. It embodies the spirit of the North, calm, precise, and relentless when the moment calls. Dawn breaks like a blade over the plains, and the ground begins to tremble. 1,000,000 hooves drum a single ancient rhythm. Ahead, the river turns in its bed, brown, cold, and full of quiet teeth. Behind, dust lifts and hangs like a curtain. Between them, a choice no animal can avoid. Wildebeest bunch at the bank, eyes rolling, calves pressed tight to flanks. Zebras slot in, black and white among the blue-gray tide, using their memory of routes while the wildebeest follow the scent of rain. Crocodiles drift low, only eyes above the chop. On the far side, lions wait in dry grass, tails curling punctuation marks in the heat. Hyenas surf the edges, reading panic like a map. Silence. A single zebra steps forward. She drops. The river explodes. Spray, snorts, bodies collide. Calves call for mothers. Mothers answer and turn back into the surge. A crocodile rises, jaws closing on a leg. Mud, muscle, and raw will. The herd flows around the violence because it must. Some vanish. Most press on. Up the far bank, hooves claw mud, knees scrabble for purchase. Lions punch the line, aiming for the tired and the small. One wildebeest stumbles, a lioness clamps down. The herd bunches, then breaks through, momentum as shield. A foal trips, a zebra wheels, kicks like a hammer, buys a heartbeat, and together they bolt. Not every chase ends in triumph. Not every fall ends a life. Above, vultures write lazy circles into the sky, patient accountants of the aftermath. Marabou storks stride in like undertakers when the dust settles. Fish eagles call from a snag, their voices bright over the low thunder of hooves. Even the river listens. This is the merciless survival battle, where danger is constant, and only those who adapt, endure, and keep moving find tomorrow. It isn't just strength that wins here, it's resilience. It's cooperation, zebras leading with memory, wildebeest answering with scent, thousands of decisions stitched into one living braid. And it's the will to try again, mile after mile. We've followed this ancient pilgrimage to the sharp edge of life and felt how every creature, predator, prey, scavenger, engineer, holds a thread of the same tapestry. Our part is simple and serious. Keep the pathways open, back the rangers, support the communities, and make sure a snare never becomes the end of a story. If this journey moved you, tap like, subscribe, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Share this with someone who knows the sound of hooves in their chest. The herd moves on, the river resets, dust rises, rain answers, and the rhythm begins again.